What's going on, everybody? LK here today with Lord Jonathan Tene. Today, we are talking about how we are in our dark forms because we both agreed to do facial hair without actually talking to each other, is what I would say. Actually, we're going to talk about tier lists. This is not a typical tier list video. We're going to be comparing our two tier lists. Jonathan made one. I made one back in March after Arc Revo. I would say just look at this as more of a state of the game type of video. If you want to see like specifics of like why Mei is super broken or why Anji is, on the up and up, then you can visit our individual videos for in-depth character explanations.
The standout ones are like, because obviously Leo, GOAT of like the game's history, Nago, GOAT, Ram, GOAT. I think like really high up are characters that weren't really there earlier. For me, it's like in my like top 4 tier, right? Pick if you want to win and hate the game, which I completely stand by. I have Mei, Chip, and Bridget, right? Chaos, obviously GOAT. Needs no introduction. All 3 of these characters got really meaningful character changes this patch, and then some of the like system changes for Mei and maybe even Chip helped out a lot. Like when Chip dash blocks at you with how much more risk he builds for blocking now, he'll end up building a lot more meter, right? Them increasing Chip's conversion ability, them increasing the power of Bridget, basically everything, if I'm being real, and them just breaking Mei. They've definitely added a lot more characters that are competing with the GOATs now, or are the GOATs, because Mei, right? And along with that, like Nago got, I think in one patch got nerfed harder than any other character has gotten nerfed in like a single patch.
For a while, yeah. Maybe
less,
the most nerfed ever. I think.
Soul.
Soul.
So, dude, Soul was broken.
True.
But anyway, so Nago got nerfed really, really hard, and he is now a lot of people were like, all right, Nago is we're human beings that are jet lagged, like nervous as hell in this tournament. How are you gonna beat Nagoriyuki, right? And in that situation, they're like, all right, he's the best. And that argument is definitely not as common anymore because he's able to take damage now after they nerfed his blood gauge. So I feel like he's a little bit more in line with the other characters. And in general, I would say the tiers are closer together than they were previously,
which is really, really important. One thing I like about looking at your tier list, one, it's not lettered. We evolve, no letter tier list anymore. You already know it's 2023. You go into a little bit more specifics. So like, I only have 4 groups, right? I have like Go Activity, Great Chance to Win, Bracket Ruiners, and then like Good but Not Solo. Yours comes off to me as a little bit more specific on like what you do when you pick the character, and it seems like this much more tournament focused, because good but not solo is an interesting sentence to say, right? Because basically what I'm trying to say is I don't want to discourage people from picking those characters if they like those characters, but from a competitive,
you're trying to win,
yeah. If you're competing, then you need to, I don't know, you need to top deck some shit. I don't know what to say. You just need help.
Yeah,
you need help. Yours is like, I bet some people like those characters though, but I understand what you're saying. Pick if you want to win and hate the game. I've been playing Mei the past couple of days. All I'm doing is smiling.
And you hate the game, bro. I'm sorry. I don't want to be the one to deliver the bad news to you, but yeah, no. I feel like when I play players of these characters, there's a lot of spite with how they play too. Yeah, I can do this. What about it, right? But
I get that feel for sure. I get that feel the most from HC and Bridget players.
Yeah, oh my god, I hate Bridget players. They just do whatever they want, and I can't do it. I like poking them and doing 20 damage for them doing whatever they want. Even though I put Zato, Goluis, Jacko under Soul, Baek, and Kai, I think those tier, you can put those 6 in like whatever order. Actually, no, I lied. Okay, I think Soul is the best out of those characters, but after that, you can put them in any order. The characters in the one below have a lot more like polarizing strengths and weaknesses, right? As opposed to the ones above, which are usually more well-rounded. Typically, Baek has flaws, but she has good defensive tools, like strong neutral, blah, 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 right? I think that it's basically, for a lot of characters in this game, it's the question of how much do you value these strengths, like when compared to their weaknesses, because usually characters with more polarizing strengths are also going to have more polarizing weaknesses. Like Zato is like perfect example. Chip is just God, but he also dies in however, you hit him however many times. Viken, she seems really overwhelming, but then she doesn't convert on standing hits. A lot of the ways that people evaluate characters, you're going to see a pretty common trend of like, all right, in this guy's tier list, you can see that he values a well-rounded character more than like a specialty character where they're really good at this thing and really bad at this thing, which is basically how most of the tier lists in Asia are, because we came back from Japan a month ago or so, right? Yeah, a lot of the people there are like, all right, Soul's the GOAT, Chip is the GOAT, Gio's the GOAT, right? And they're all these like characters who are basically pretty good at everything, but they're for the most part not like literally the best in a certain category. As a trade-off, it's a lot harder to exploit like certain weaknesses of the character. I feel like in NA that's definitely a lot less valued in general. They like put Happy Chaos higher, and even though he is more well-rounded than he should be, there's still some stuff about him you can exploit, right? They'll put Chaos higher, they'll put Leo higher, even though Leo is accidentally very well-rounded, but they generally rate like Soul and Kai lower. Those are like the main two like tells for something like that. And also I guess like Geo. Yeah, I don't know. I always thought that that's really interesting.
It comes across a lot when you talk to people from the different regions. Like when we mentioned Leo, like even though Leo's really well-rounded, I still think most of the reason why people think that he's good is he can mash and he can mix you, not neutral stuff. There's like, oh, well,
yeah,
he just knocks you down,
definitely.
mixes you, and he kills you. And then when you attack him, he just mashes. So he's good.
Yeah,
like, that type of
that's
thing.
true. I guess if you ask someone from here about Leo, they're gonna be like, yeah, he does flash kick and he wins the game, right? And if you ask someone in Japan why he's good, because their opinion of him is going up, like as of recent, but still not like as high as we think, right? But if you ask someone from Japan, they're gonna be like, yeah, his neutral's really good. He has a good dash and he has good defense. I'm assuming, as opposed to here where they're probably gonna focus on back turn. Best way of showing it is their best Leo player uses back turn like way less than anyone else does here, because he's just that focused on the neutral that this character has in his like standard strike throw, which is also very good, by the way.
Which is also very good. Another thing that there's kind of like a clear line. I think mine's too though. Who can do it and who can't. And when I say this too, because for example, I uploaded a video about really it was about tiers, but it's using Potemkin.
I got clickbaited.
Yeah, sorry, gotta clickbait everybody. Of course, the thing could happen, right? Like someone could do
Yeah.
it. It's just the chances and the attempts. The chances and the attempts. Like too many things have to come together for certain characters to close like more than 300 or 400 entrant event. You know what I mean? Matchup wise. With yours, I think it's like very clear that you actually think a lot of characters could win this game, which is actually a pretty good thing about the game right now.
The last character I wouldn't be surprised to see win a tournament is the Zato Goluis Jacko tier. I'll raise my eyebrows if the Anji Axel tier wins a tournament. And like Bracket Ruiners is basically just that. It's like, all right, dude is like #1 Testament fan, right? He's like, God, Testament's just so cool, right? But then he's basically accepting like, all right, I'm only playing Testament. I am probably not winning this 1,000 person major. Run into like one too many Happy Chaos players, one too many chip players, and it's looking a little grim. Especially like Axel's another one, right? Like he has some really like surprisingly good matchups, I guess, in that like he's good against Bridget, right? He's good against Nago, pretty good against Leo. He's good against Zato. Also, he gets demolished by like Ram, Chip, May. So those types of characters, it feels like you're leaving it up to your bracket luck a lot, which is not something I would want to do. But if you just love Axel, then maybe you can do it, right? And it's not like it's literally impossible. Like Stealthy beat Chaos, Ram, and May at Frosty. He was the one who he 3-0'd Slash. Like it's definitely possible, but you need to work some miracles to make it happen, right? So I would generally see the bracket ruiners tier as kind of just that. They're there to ruin other people's days rather than win the tournament.
Yeah, that's how I basically like define them. Like these characters are they good? Yeah, but they're basically just there to just ruin someone else's run from a bracket perspective. So I'm not dumping on anyone's character, just from a bracket perspective, right? Because all those characters, and I have like Axel, Gold Lewis, because I think Gold Lewis is slightly down compared to before. Testament, Faust, Kyle, and Anji. And I mean, we've seen it out of some of these characters already, like Anji at Frosty was a big one.
Yeah, that was bracket ruiner.
Kyle's run at Evil Japan, right? But I mean, Chirota is also
textbook bracket ruiner.
Textbook, like people don't practice against her. She shows up.
Like that's the last character you want to see in tournament.
Yes, if you're not ready, like, oh my god, she's gonna meet you. So that group is a pretty underexplored, but if you are taking the game seriously, you should really look at them actually, because those are the dudes that make you panic. Those are the characters that really make you panic.
If you haven't studied these characters, you will probably lose to them unless your matchup is just out of this world good against them.
Yeah. Like some HC Eno type energy.
Yeah, like if you're playing like Ram or Chip versus Axel, then maybe you'll be fine without studying. If you're playing like Leo versus Axel, like you actually need to know what you're doing against Axel, even if Leo is like top tier and Axel isn't.
Ill advised? Is that just no hope?
It's not no hope. It's just like you probably shouldn't. Yeah. By the way, this is not ordered because I think Sin is better than Pot, but whatever. Like none of this is ordered. A wise man once said the only spot that's ordered on every tier list is 1.
True.
Because you always put the first character you think of there.
True.
Which is definitely May.
True.
No question.
True.
But anyway, Pot and Sin are also kind of a little different in that, like, Sin has a pretty, like, he's kind of what I thought about Anji last patch, which is that for the most part, his matchup spread is pretty tame in terms of, like, how hard he loses. He has really bad ones, like Chip and Chaos are really bad for him. Generally, for a character that's this low, his matchups aren't as polarizingly bad as you would think, right? It's just more like, oh, who does Sin beat, right? And when you ask that question, then it gets a little messy. Pot Pot, there are some matchups where he does better. Like I've heard he beats Kai, beats Anji,
I've heard that too.
beats Testament, and I don't know about that one.
I don't know about that one either.
But Anji and Kai is pretty understandable why, right? Those actually do make sense. But meanwhile, he like has like borderline hopeless matchups against Zato, Chip, Leo, Nago, Ram, Gold Lewis. He just has a list of like completely horrible matchups. Personally, I think like for entering a tournament, I'd rather have 10 slight losing matchups than like 3 like horrible matchups.
Agree.
I think that that's what makes him worse and what makes him harder to win tournaments with. I mean, I don't know. I guess it can still happen. And
Yeah.
it's also like the other thing is going for him is that the characters that like destroy him aren't exactly the most common characters. Chip is actually not super common. Leo's everywhere. Nago is kind of everywhere. Ram is kind of dying out.
Yeah, a lot of the Ram players have been like playing Bridget or playing like Leo, or they've just been playing other
Yeah.
characters. I've been noticing.
Yeah, Zato obviously uncommon, right? And Gold Lewis super uncommon, so stuff like that. But yeah, no, I think Pot is definitely the hardest character to win with right now. And then Milia and Bedman just came out, right? Milia, the past God knows how many patches, I've been like, all right, this is the one. Milia's stupid this patch. She's so good, and I've been wrong every time. So I have banned myself from ranking Milia. So I would like to hear what you think about her.
I mean, in the end, I think she's a good character. I think she's really scary to run into. Basically, I've been floating Milia as a bracket ruiner recently. But if I do that, then I have to do the same for Eno. And my thing is about Milia and Eno that I think it's difficult to win an event with just them. Because Milia, the big...
I mean, that's what bracket ruiners for.
Yeah, but I have like I sort of think like the Axel Gold Lewis Testament of the world, you know, can make like pretty deep consistent runs. Milia, there's a bunch of just like landmines you gotta worry about. For NA, for example, like you gotta worry about Baek, Leo. Those are probably the 2 hardest one off the top of my head right now would be Baek and Leo.
Gold Lewis?
Gold Lewis, yeah. Well, I'm staring at him. Gold Lewis would be really bad, but he's not that common.
Milia players try to forget about Gold Lewis.
Yeah. I deleted him from my memory.
Yeah, no, that's a horror movie.
The good news is like some of her good matchups. Like she has matchups that are kind of nice to have as good matchups. Like it's nice that she can fight Jacko very well. It's nice that she fights Axel well. It's nice that she's okay against May. It's nice that she's okay against Chip.
I mean, okay against May and Chip is the best you can ask for. Like, oh man, I kind of lose to them, but I don't get like, you know, dumpstered. With May and Chip, that's just kind of the most you can hope for.
And her Doom matchups though are really rough. I think compared to previous matches though, there's way less Doom than before. So I'm kind of thinking she's more of a bracket ruiner than you absolutely need to play a second character. I think that's probably like the only thing I would change compared to March.
Yeah, no, I was actually pretty surprised to see her there. If you asked me to rank Milia right now, I would put her in bracket ruiner, but again, I'm banned from ranking Milia, so I can't do that.
It's kind of like probably the only thing I would change about the list that I made. Because
Milia and Eno, or just her?
Probably both at this point.
When I think of bracket ruiner, like you close your eyes and you say bracket ruiner, the 2 characters that pop up in my head are Anji and Eno.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
I feel like that tier can't exist without them. And then it should be Gold Lewis, but he's actually too good. So that's not the case. He's not only there to ruin brackets, he can win.
Yeah, my list is a little bit tighter. I have like less specifics. I kind of agree with the way you're thinking. I didn't go like that. I was basically like, these characters are the goats and they're just, you know, they win everything / are just mad good. And then all these characters can win a major for sure, for different reasons, yeah, but for sure. These are the characters I see just ruin runs all the time, and then these are the characters I think are mean to people. Like, fine, but like if you play them, you either have to accept that you need to just pray for good luck on the way up, or you need to play another character with them, which is a good state of the game, to be honest. I don't know, how do you feel about the overall state of the game?
Overall balance, I think this is the closest May has been to Pot, let's say, if we take the best and worst character, but I'm just mad that May's on top, personally. I can't stand that. The other thing is, like, I think every tier is actually, because last version, like, I thought the GOATs were like Ram, Chaos, Nago, and then Gold Lewis, and I thought that those characters were like a good amount better than like Leo, Baek, Chip, and then those characters were a good amount better than Zato, Jacko. Those like gaps in tiers aren't as big this time.
Yes,
right.
I think so too.
I mean, like, perfect example, like, I think we can both agree Soul is probably a good amount worse than Geo, Bridget Chip, if I were to say, all right, put a new tier on this tier list, you would probably put something underneath Chip tier and put like half that tier in there. You're okay putting that tier in there, and that shows that they're closer. You know what I mean? Because last patch, there would be no way you would put like all these characters in the same tier.
I think so too. Yeah, it was hard to think about actually when I was like making the list, because I was like, there's so many characters I think are like strong and scary in this patch compared to previous patches. You know what I mean? So that's honestly a good thing.
There's more problem characters.
Yes, it's good for this type of game.
Parentheses positive.
Yes, it's definitely good for this type of game because I think it's the main mission of modern fighting games. Basically, it's like
pick who you want.
Pick who you want and be able to do the stuff that you want to do with the character.
Thanks for watching. Let us know what you guys think. Let us know how May is actually not that good and she actually struggles in all these like 20 different matchups that aren't that good for her. And maybe there's another character where that's the case. Like, comment, subscribe. I don't know.